Unitarian Universalist Church Online. I'm Sarah Riling, one of the worship associates. We are glad that you're with us today. Whether you're a member, a longtime visitor, or you just found this video on YouTube, may you find connection with us and nourishment for your mind and spirit. We welcome to our pulpit today, Minister Leah Jordan. Minister Jordan is from Fort Worth, Texas, and is a member of Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. She is a writer, thinker, and speaker. Leah received a bachelor's degree in rehabilitation studies from the University of North Texas. She graduated as a Walker Preaching Scholar from Bright Divinity School at TCU in May 2015 with a Master's of Divinity, and in 2019 with a Master of Theology. Her writings can be found on her website, leahbrenajordan.com. We have come to this time and this place to rediscover the wondrous gift of free religious community, to renew our faith in the holiness, goodness, and beauty of life, to reaffirm the way of the open mind and full heart, to rekindle the flame of memory and hope, and to reclaim the vision of an earth made fair with all her people one. Come, let us worship together. A flame to light our path. Fire consumes and casts a bright light. May our chalice flame consume our regrets for the past, our fears about the future, and our worries about today. May it light for us a path of joy and peace. This church, like all Unitarian Universalist churches, is not bound by a common creed. We are not required to make an affirmation of belief. No, instead, we are bound together by our covenant, the promises we have made to each other and the wider community. We recommit ourselves to these promises each time we recite our covenant. Please join me as once again we say these words together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth, keepers of faith, makers of peace, and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are one. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage.
A benefit of the spiritual community is sharing our happiness and our burdens. Please use the chat feature to share what is on your heart today with us. Spirit of love and life, may we act with kindness and compassion in all that we do. Give us the patience and strength to keep going through disappointment, hardship, and loss. Help us to wrap our love and tenderness around all who need healing. And may we be grateful for all we have been given.
Good morning. I am so happy to be with you today. I'm so humbled and honored at your invitation, and I hope that you will accept the message that I believe is timely for us today and in this season. I'd like to share a passage with you from the book of Exodus, starting in chapter 3, and I'll begin at verse 1. Now Moses was keeping the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian, and he led his flock to the west side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. He looked, and behold, the bush was burning, yet it was not consumed. And Moses said, I will turn aside to see this great sight, why the bush is not burning. When the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called to him out of the bush, Moses, Moses. And he said, here I am. I'll stop there and I'll read the last two verses in a moment. There's a show on Hulu called Little Fires Everywhere. It's starring Kerry Washington and Reese Witherspoon, and it's based on a novel by Celeste Ng. And it's about these two families, one white family, one black family, and just how they have to navigate parenthood, marriage, raising teens, just all these different human dynamics while in the midst of the racial tensions that are just in the world, right? And so the Robinson family, the white family, their house, it burns up. It catches on fire. And if you're watching the show throughout the season, you have no idea who set the fire because there's so many people who might want to in that family. There's so many people who are angry and just have a lot going on. There's just so much happening. And so when the firefighter arrives, though, he tells the family there's no way this fire could have been an accident. We don't see just one start point. We saw little fires everywhere. This must have been intentional. Our story this morning is about Moses and the burning bush. But I'm suggesting that this wasn't Moses' first fire, nor was it his only. I think fire represents an encounter, a confrontation with truth and purpose, or a transformative moment that can change the trajectory of your life. And so Moses was certainly a man whose life was full of moments, you know. Moses, if you don't know the story or haven't heard it in a very long time, Moses grew up as a prince of Egypt, but that wasn't the whole truth. Before Moses was born, Pharaoh, or the king, decided that the Israelites were getting too big, the numbers were getting too high. He felt like, oh, these people they're about to outnumber us, and we can't afford to have them take power over us, so we need to find a way to oppress them and keep them down and keep them from multiplying. And so the king decided that they should be enslaved. But the more the Pharaoh tried to oppress them and keep them down, the stronger they got and the more they actually multiplied. So when that didn't work, Pharaoh said, okay, we have to go beyond oppression. He went to the Hebrew midwives and said, when you see a baby boy being born, kill him. Well, the midwives did not agree to do this. And when that didn't work, the king or the Pharaoh said, everyone, if you see a baby boy being born, throw him into the Nile River. So that way the population can't continue to multiply. Moses' mother was pregnant at the time. And of course she was Hebrew, and she would have Moses, who would be a Hebrew baby boy. But she couldn't let her son die, so she hid him for 3 months, as long as she could, probably until he got too big or too loud, and then she put him in a basket and sent him down the river. And so she had her other daughter, or her daughter, his sister, stand by and watch at the river and make sure that things were okay, that he landed somewhere safely. But when she sent him down the river, Pharaoh's daughter comes just to take her bath, and she sees this basket, and of course this little boy is in it. So she opens it up and sees and says, oh, this is a Hebrew baby, who of course was supposed to be killed. But she took pity on this baby boy. And so Moses' sister, who's been watching the whole thing, walks up and says, "Would you like for me to find a Hebrew woman to nurse this baby?" Of course, she knows one because it's her own mother's son. So Moses ends up being nursed by his own mother, and when he's old enough, she returns him back to Pharaoh's daughter to be raised as a prince of Egypt. That's how he became a prince. He wasn't really Egyptian at all. So he gets older, and of course, he sees how these people are enslaved, how they're oppressed, and one day he's watching and he sees an Egyptian man abusing a man who is Hebrew like he is. And anger stirs up in him, and he kills this Egyptian man and buries his body in the sand. Well, people find out about it. Moses is embarrassed, and he's afraid that he'll be punished, so he flees Egypt and ends up in a place called Midian. I got to tell you all this because, like I said, that wasn't Moses' first fire. He had little fires everywhere, all kinds of moments. And so he goes to Midian, finds a wife, has a baby, starts to live a comfortable life far away from all the truth of his past. But you and I both know that our narratives have a way of returning to us. So one day he's walking with his flock of sheep. He's become a shepherd now, no longer a prince. And he comes across this bush that's on fire. That's where our story picks up, and it's not being consumed. So he turns to see this great sight and figure out what's going on here. And so when the story says, when the Lord saw that he turned to see, his name was called, and he says, "Here I am." I don't find that a literal interpretation of this story is as helpful. I don't think the point of the story is that there is a God who's so powerful and magical that they can appear in, fire in a tree just while you're walking in the desert. That's not been my experience. I think the point is that when you least expect it, transformative moments will come to you and teach you things and show you things and propel you into the next season of your life. I think the point of the story is that if you will be open enough, if you will walk slowly enough, and if you will live intentionally enough, you can hear a word from the fire too. How many fires, right? How many things on fire? How many moments have we passed by just absent-mindedly? The text never says that this was the first bush that Moses ever saw burning in the desert. All we know is that he paused for this one. He had the spiritual sensitivity to know that on this day and in this tree, the fire was burning for him. How many fires have we run from? Maybe we were afraid of the heat, or what treasures we might get damaged, what we might lose if things should burn up and be consumed. How many fires have we extinguished before we even stopped to investigate? I think that's the real problem with humanity, with people, is that some of us have become professional firefighters just because we've seen so many in so many places in so many different kinds, and all of them weren't beautiful, and some of them did come and do great harm. But when uncomfortable feelings and unfamiliar circumstances arise, we just jump to manage them, right? We try to overanalyze, or we try to contain the fire. And sometimes we make sure we put it out completely. But I want to tell you that what I learned in this story is that everything that looks like a problem is really not. Everything that is hot did not come to burn you, and every fire did not come into your life to consume. Moses does what I think is the right thing to do when you hear the universe calling your name. He says, "Here I am. He is fully present in the moment, and he surrenders to the possibilities of what this could lead to. But hold on a second. Verse 5 says, "Then he said, 'Do not come near. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place on which you stand is holy ground.' And he said," talking about the fire, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look at God. Just when Moses is ready to surrender, just when he's curious, just when he's open enough, the fire says, "Back up. Don't come any closer. I need you to take your shoes off because this is holy ground." What is this really about here? Well, we know sandals are designed to protect the feet from the heat of the sand and hard and painful grounds that people had to walk on. It's hard to be vulnerable and think about taking anything off when we've been stripped of so much already, isn't it? We're experiencing a pandemic. We're witnessing an emerging war. All of our ground, all the hands we've been dealt, all of our ground seems to be hard and painful, so surely we should be allowed to keep on our shoes, if nothing else, right? Leah, are you saying that the universe can't teach us a lesson without burning our feet first? Are you trying to tell us that there's a God who's on some ego trip who wants to make us feel small and unprotected just so that they can feel holy? No, I'm not saying that at all. I don't subscribe to anything like that. What I am saying is that although sandals are made to protect our feet, there are some truths that we can't protect ourselves from any longer. I'm saying that this fire did not come to entertain, but to give Moses a full experience. There can no longer be a comfortable barrier between us and the earth. Why? Because the ground, the earth, holds memory. There is an organization called the Equal Justice Initiative. And I have to share this with you, not just because it's Black History Month, just because it's so fantastic, it's wonderful. And they're doing what's called a community remembrance project. And what they've done in Alabama is they started an exhibit to honor people, African Americans, who have been lynched. And they've identified over 4,000 people who have been lynched in the South. And so they've also identified lynching sites. And they've had volunteers to come in and go to these sites and dig a portion of the soil and put it in jars with people's names on it who have been lynched. And they've got them displayed at a museum in Montgomery, Alabama. And you can see the soil and the names. The soil tells the story. It tells the truth. It holds the memory of what occurred in those places. Do you remember the fire that led Moses to run out of Egypt and bring him to this fire? It was that he killed that Egyptian man when he saw him oppressing somebody who looked like him. Yeah, Moses needed to take his shoes off and feel that. I know he wanted to forget, but he needed to feel that. That anger that he felt seeing somebody abuse a man who looked like him, he needed to take that righteous anger and he needed to feel it in between his toes, and he needed to stir it up in himself so he could take it back to Egypt and tell Pharaoh to let his people go. That's what the conversation at the bush was about. And I know it's hard to feel soil on your feet. I know it feels dirty. I know it's hard. I know there may have been some bloodshed. But the soil also has the ancestry. There's also power in the earth. There's also source energy. There's also seeds planted there, and that's why your feet have to be planted there, so that you can feel all of that between your toes, so that there's no barrier between the earth and you. If you really want to go to the next level, you have to become intimate with the truth, and you have to be open to what the fire, these moments, have to say to you. If you read on, there's a whole conversation between Moses and this flame about how he's called to be a deliverer. He's called to go back and restore justice for his people. I don't know what your calling is, but I know that there are fires everywhere. And if you're open to it, if you'll be humble and submit to it and take off your shoes and remove those barriers between you and the memories and the other flames that led you to where you are, then you can step into the next season of your life and into your purpose and into your life's work. It happened for Moses. It's happening for me, and I know that it is happening for you too. So, my blessings to you on this journey, church.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Our wish at Community UU Church is to cultivate a spirit of gratitude and generosity in all things. As we are grateful for the many gifts that we have been given, the natural outwelling of this gratitude is generosity. May you know the grace of gratitude and the generosity of spirit that giving brings. If you wish to support Community UU and its ministries by your giving, you can mail a check to our church building. The address is on our church webpage, communityuuchurch.org. Or you can go to the webpage and click on the blue Donate Now button to donate by credit or debit card. Thank you for your generous gifts. Our time together today is ending, and is our custom, we will extinguish our chalice. Please say the words together with me. We extinguish this flame but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Blessed is the path on which you travel. Blessed is the body that carries you upon it. Blessed is your heart that has heard the call. Blessed is your mind that discerns the way. Blessed is the gift that you will receive by going. Truly blessed is the gift that you will become on the journey. May you go forth in peace.